Shoplifting and organized retail crime are posing some real problems for big hardware stores like Lowe's and Home Depot. Criminals are coming in and walking out with thousands of dollars in tools and other supplies. In this video, I will tell you what Home Depot is saying and doing about these thefts, so stick around. Organized retail crime is a big deal, and retailers have reported losing billions of dollars. In fact, the National Retail Federation reported that in 2022, the total loss from retail theft was around $112 billion. Some retailers like Target have even closed down stores because they're just losing way too much money. Stores call the theft or losses that result from shoplifting shrink. And it's been a huge topic recently, mainly because it impacts their bottom line and has the potential to increase prices for the rest of us. And when you get down to it, there are three main costs to shrink. The first is the cost of the item itself that was stolen. The second is the cost of the lost sales that result from legitimate customers who now can't buy that product because it's not in stock. And the third is the cost of the efforts that the store has to now take in order to combat the problem. In the Home Depot's most recent annual report, this is what they had to say on the topic. Our customers and associates expect a safe store environment in which to shop and work. And maintaining that environment helps protect against loss or theft of our inventory, also called shrink. Like other retailers, we have seen an increase in shrink in recent years, particularly as a result of organized retail crime. While we've had a number of initiatives underway to address shrink, minimize theft, and maintain safety in and around our stores, these efforts require operational changes that may increase costs and reduce margins, and they may negatively impact the customer experience. Furthermore, an unsafe environment or negative incidents in or around our stores may erode trust and confidence with customers, associates, or potential associates, which can adversely impact sales, associate morale, and retention, and our brand and reputation. So according to them and what they have written in their filing, they're taking steps to address the problem. And in a video I made a few weeks back, I detailed a lot of the new tactics that Home Depot is employing to reduce the amount and impact of these thefts on their bottom line. These include things like locking up merchandise, carts with brakes that will stop working if you try to leave the store with stolen merchandise, gates, and more security cameras. They're even changing store layouts that isolate the tool section with a cashier at the exit of that section so that you have to make your tool purchases before going anywhere else in the store. They're even adding armed police officers standing watch in some locations. Now, to the honest customer, these changes may be annoying, but the big question is whether it will be so annoying that it encourages us to stop going there, right? To either buy online or buy somewhere else or not buy at all. Like they said in their annual report, they know that some of these changes may negatively impact the customer experience. That's really code for lost revenue from people who decide that the hassle just isn't worth it. And in my last video, there were plenty of people who felt that the changes were just too much. There were even more people, however, who said that they liked the changes and would have no issue shopping there. So tell me what you guys think. Are you put off by some of these measures? Does it annoy you to the point where you wouldn't go there? What changes would you actually like to see? Have you yourself witnessed a theft at a Home Depot? Be sure to leave a comment and share your experience. So in the end, it's really a balance. They have to protect their associates, they have to protect their customers and their merchandise, but they can't make the shopping experience too negative because that pushes people away. They also can't spend too much money on the security measures or that cuts into their bottom line as well. So it is a tough problem to solve, and honestly, it really isn't their problem. It's a societal problem. They just happen to be some of the ones that are most impacted. Now in this video, I'm not going to go into all of the reasons why this is happening on such a large scale, but certainly the poor economy over the past few years have definitely played a huge part. In some cases, it's individuals who are hurting for cash and then turn to crime, but those are really the exceptions. It's actually a much bigger problem than that. In an interview with Yahoo Finance, the Home Depot executive who is in charge of loss prevention said this.
I think people are starting to understand that this is not petty shoplifting. This is not something that, somebody's coming in and stealing a hammer from the Home Depot. These are folks that are stealing in mass. And that the crimes that these folks are monetizing and funding with the dollars that come from this touch many, many other areas that a lot of folks are very interested in: drugs, guns, human trafficking, other money laundering. And I think as that starts to permeate through the US, as it starts to permeate through the justice system, people are starting to really understand how important and how critical it is for us to treat this problem seriously. As that continues to grab hold, we're going to see better, better controls around this process. We're going to see people that are held accountable at a much higher level across the board.
So drugs, guns, human trafficking, and money laundering. Like he said, this isn't just petty thieves for the most part. This is a much bigger problem. And in a lot of cases, it's just been ignored by law enforcement as something that is just too small for them to deal with. And so I would say that the lack of attention from law enforcement and local governments has really encouraged a lot of this type of crime to continue, and that the people doing this stealing know that they face few consequences and are likely to get away with it. Within stores, employees are told not to interfere, as some employees have been injured or even killed by shoplifters. And the company would rather just lose out on the merchandise than risk an employee or a customer being killed or injured in an altercation. The thieves know this as well, and that's why they just walk in and out. In fact, there was a recent case from just this past January where a guy in Pennsylvania stole $10,000 worth of circuit breakers from 3 different Home Depots within the span of a few days in just a suitcase. In fact, here is a clip from that incident.
One woman saw it happen.
Looked like he wheeled it in a suitcase, and I couldn't believe they couldn't stop him.
A retail worker in Ben Salem says shoplifters have it down to a science.
They know what to steal, what not to steal. They seem to have a list of hot items, and they just wreak havoc in this area.
So these, for the most part, are organized groups. They know what to steal and where to steal it, and businesses can only do so much. In order for things to really change, state and local governments and local law enforcement specifically have to take it more seriously, and that is starting to happen in some places. In states like Florida and Vermont, bills have been passed that would make repeated retail thefts a felony. Stricter penalties are also being proposed in states such as Pennsylvania, New York, California, and others. The federal government also has a role in taking this issue more seriously. And in a recent hearing on retail crime, there was a panel of representatives from Homeland Security, the Secret Service, and the FBI, and they emphasized the expansive nature of the problem. Here's a clip from that hearing.
It is widely recognized that 21st century polycriminal networks diversify their criminal portfolios to increase profitability and influence. No longer tied to a single criminal scheme or enterprise, it is not uncommon for organized theft groups to be involved in or affiliated with those networks who perpetrate financial fraud, identity theft, human smuggling and trafficking, illicit trade, money laundering, narcotics and weapons trafficking, among many others.
So because of the nature of these criminals and the other crimes that they also commit, this issue is finally getting the attention that it deserves. Companies who have been fighting back for a while now are starting to get support from law enforcement agencies and the federal government, as well as local governments. And they are starting to share data, they're starting to cooperate with retailers, and they're doing more. They're investigating these crimes, they're performing sting operations to catch the offenders and recover stolen merchandise. In fact, there was another recent case in Florida where Home Depot cooperated with different law enforcement groups to apprehend and charge 3 individuals who were responsible for multiple thefts of over $100,000 at Home Depots there in Florida. So the last thing to talk about is how criminals ultimately cash in. I'm pretty sure that the guy stealing the circuit breakers wasn't looking to install a new panel in his garage. At some point, the criminals need to sell their stolen merchandise, and that often takes place online. In June of last year, a new federal law called the Informed Consumer Act was passed. This law requires that online marketplaces like eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and Amazon track high-volume third-party sellers to collect and verify their identities and bank account information. That way they can determine whether they are legitimate sellers or criminals. Now, none of this is perfect, but when taken together, all of these actions can definitely make an impact. Now, I don't want to have to pay more for my tools and supplies because of some guy who gets himself a 5-finger discount. And I also don't want these crimes to be funding more serious criminal activities that degrade society. So all in all, this is a step in the right direction. And hopefully scenes like this will be a thing of the past. Now let me know what you guys think. What do you think would be the most effective way to combat thefts like this? Do you think that there is more that companies like Home Depot or Lowe's or companies like that should be doing? Or is the onus now on governments to pull their weight? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and check out these other great videos, and I'll see you in the next one.